Namaste, Namo Buddhaya. Some other questions have come in to the comments, which I'd like to talk about now, and we'll see how it goes. I'm a little better organised, I hope, tonight than the last questions and answers. And I also have my glasses for reading if the print is too small. so we should be okay. Namaste, Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. I'll just read the whole thing. Maybe I should put these on. That doesn't really help. Namaste, Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. I try to connect to your morning and evening chantings daily and notice that whilst chanting you are switching positions from sitting on your knees and toes to a kind of legs crossed to the right side position, not the meditation position. I wonder why is that and what it allows to achieve. Thank you, Bhante. That's a very good question. I'm very glad that somebody's been so attentive as to notice it, really. But it is a very good question because it's quite important. If you ever go to Thailand, certainly, or to a Buddhist country, I'm not really sure in all Buddhist countries, but certainly in Thailand. Let me explain why. I start off the chanting when we're paying homage to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. So the initial part of the chanting, I am on what we call our haunches. I think the only way to do this is to demonstrate. So one would, you've seen in the chanting, I am sitting like this. And you may remember when I was first in Thailand and was having to do this for a long time, in these talks I would say, it's torture, and it was. But now I'm quite used to it, so I can sit like this for a very long time, chanting. If we are addressing, being spoken to by a senior monk in a formal capacity, or visiting a senior monastic in the temple, or in the temple performing any official ceremony, this is how we would have to sit, like this. Not here, but you'll often see Moggallana and Sariputta, the Buddha's chief disciples, two chief disciples, one on the right, one on the left, would be sitting like this, with the Buddha facing out in the middle, and they would be facing towards the Buddha and each other, like this. So this is our formal position for chanting, paying homage to the Buddha. Then we have something called the polite position. I've forgotten the Thai word, paladi. It sounds like butterfly in French. I've forgotten it. But the polite position is how both men, upasakas, and ladies, upasikas, should always sit when they're listening to a Dharma talk or to a monk talking to them about anything. If the official part is over with, when they'd be sitting like this, they then go into this position. Whether you can see this or not, I don't know. So rather than the usual cross-legged position, as I've explained before, the right leg, it actually can be the left leg, but usually it's the right, and that way all of the monks are sitting the same way, so it looks uniform from all of the people that the monks are in front of. This leg is to the right with the foot like this. I don't know whether you can see that. If you go back on the chanting videos, you'll see more clearly maybe. And we sit like that. Now, it doesn't matter how long the Dharma talk is for, this is how you have to sit. You don't move. You don't do anything. You just sit like this. It's actually quite comfortable, again, once you get used to it, but this is called polite position. It is polite for many reasons, but it is expected of you to sit like this. So in the chanting, when we finish paying homage to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the monks then come off of their sitting on their haunches like this and sit like that, because it's more comfortable. It's actually, if you haven't done it before, it's not at all comfortable, but when you get used to it, like all of these things, it's okay. You can switch, but that's not really acceptable to switch. You should stay the same all of the time. So you would sit like this. That's the polite position. And that's the reason. You don't sit in the... Let me turn around. As I'm going to sit now, in the lotus position, with your right leg on your left thigh, right foot on your left thigh, when you're listening to a Dharma talk, or you're listening to... This is officially, of course, you can sit how you like, wherever you are. But if you were in a temple in Thailand, this is how it works. And because this is where my training has been, it's the way I'm all tangled up in the wire. It's gone round my toes somehow. I should untangle that. Yes, so if you're in the temple in Thailand visiting the senior monks, ajahns there, this is what would be expected of you. And all Thai people are brought up this way. So this, the meditation sitting position, you wouldn't be sitting like that now to be listening to me. You'd be sitting in the polite position. The teacher, he can sit, or the person giving the Dharma talk, he can sit like this. Or when you have finished the chanting and there's time for some meditation at the end, then you go from the polite position to this position. So these are the 3 sitting postures. So it's a very good question, because it's something I've never discussed before. I hope that's useful if ever you are on holiday in Thailand and you go to a temple, you know how to sit and address a monk. And of course, whenever you are talking to a bhikkhu or a monk or nun in anywhere, you should be talking with your hands in Anjali. So listening to them, answering your question, or when you're asking a question, you hold your hands like this. So it's not like a praying position, it's more in Thailand it's the greeting, where they say Sawadi, Sawadi Krap to each other like this, and in India also, Namaste, they say it like this. But when you're listening to a monk or asking him a question, when you speak, you hold your hands in Anjali like this. Some people will sit in the polite position and with their hands in Anjali for the entire Dharma talk. I've often done that, and through the Patimokkha recitation in Thailand, I will sit for the 40 minutes like that also. It's paying respect to what you're hearing. So that's that. Thank you for that question. Very good question. How do I get the next one? What have I done? Okay. Oh, because I zoomed it big, so I could see it, I see. Okay. Namo Buddhaya. So, how do you get rid of sexual thinking whenever alone? Well, if you're a lay person, there's no need to. It's quite perfectly natural and ordinary and normal. I don't like the word normal, but it's perfectly acceptable. On the 5 precepts, you will still have, you're going to have, anyone will experience sexual desire, lust, fantasies, this and that. You can enjoy intimate relationships, all within the parameters of the 5 precepts. So refraining from sexual misconduct, which I've discussed at some length previously. There is a video on here. I think if you just search English monk sexual desire, it comes up straight away. with how to go about eradicating lust. It's not really just applicable to sexual desire. It covers all kinds of desires, really. So it's useful if you have cravings for mangoes, for instance, whilst you're meditating, or chips, or Mountain Dew, that terrible drink, which they do have here in India, which I love. But no, these kind of things, I won't go into the whole talk now. Watch that video. I have sent you, this individual subscriber, the link, so you can find it easily. But if you haven't got the link, that's all you need to search for. Sexual desire, English monk. That sounds very dodgy. Okay, next question. This is back to the head shaving thing. Someone's just highlighting the fact that it's to do with attraction and looking good and adornment and having nice hairstyles to look beautiful. Yes, I mean, of course, exactly. Yes, exactly. It is that too, the reason we shave our heads. We weren't really talking about the reason. We were talking about why does the Buddha, is he depicted as here with hair all of the time? Well, because he was allowing it to grow its 2 finger breadths length. And he is based on Greek idea of what he should look like as opposed to facts. But as far as, yes, beauty is concerned, the 7th precept of no beautification and adornment covers that when you're on the 8 precepts, which of course monks are on as samaneras. They're on initially the 10 precepts as anagarikas, and then as a samanera you take a further 75 precepts which are more training rules. Then when you take upasampada full ordination, you adopt the full 227 bhikkhu rules, which are also called the bhikkhu training rules, because this is our training in Selah, in order to support our samadhi and our development of wisdom, panya. And really, that is the answer to all of these questions, because I could answer all of these questions with just that. Practice Sila, Samadhi, and I'm about to answer the next one with just that. Practice Sila, Samadhi, Panya, the Noble Eightfold Path. I'll show you. Speaking of family, Bhante, I have... what was I speaking of family? I must have been probably in the last... Yes, sorry. Speaking of family, Bhante, I have a question, if I may. Can you offer some advice on how to loosen attachment to my kids and the worry that comes with feeling I am not good enough parent, or the worry about the future prospects? They are 10 and 13 years of age, I guess. Thank you. Yes, so don't be concerned about your attachment to your children, or think you should be loosening it. This is again, I think, quite acceptable. You're a lay person. If you're thinking of ordaining, then you, even so, will not necessarily need to completely detach yourself from your children. Physically, yes, you won't be necessarily in the same location or seeing them so often, but they're your children. You love them and they love you, yes? Don't try and loosen that attachment. But we can have attachment without it interfering, without it bothering us. Let me think of a way of explaining this. You see, you love your children, and sometimes even in relationships, you can love a partner. But when the relationship isn't working, because you love them so much, you can let them go. Let them go free. For some reason or other, it's not working, and you know it's not doing them any good, it's not doing you any good. If you truly love them, you have the capacity, the strength to set them free. Like a bird, its going to have to fly the nest. Its mother, its father, bird, allows it to fly the nest one day. And this is the same with our children. If you love them, you let them go. You set them free. And they respect you for this. That doesn't mean you love them any less. But if you love them and you don't set them free, you keep them locked up. And you say, no, I love you so much, you have to stay with me. The same with this relationship I'm describing, or your children, or the bird. You keep it in a cage. Then this is a totally different kind of idea of love. It's not really love, is it? That is really gripping, grasping, grabbing, attachment kind of love. And if you have that kind of attachment to your children, then you're not being kind to them or yourself. And that does need to be loosened. But to be attached through the fact that they're your children and you're attached to them as a parent and wish to do all you possibly can for their benefit and good is not something you need to try and loosen. I hope that explains it. I'm not really sure I've got to the point very well there. But then you say you have this feeling of not being a good parent. We all have that feeling. I'm a parent also. I was going to say I was a parent. I'm still a parent. I'm even a grandparent now. But my children have grown up. And I wasn't a very good parent. But where's the benchmark? Where's the comparison? We probably think our parents, generally think our parents were good. But they probably didn't think they were the best parents either. We were very quite unkind, self-critical when it comes to parenting, thinking we could have done better. How you can address this is by setting the example. You don't need to say to your children, right, you need to be Buddhists, children. That's never going to work. It shouldn't be the case that children are forced into really any religion, really. They should seek it, want it, through seeing their parents enjoying whatever practice, whatever religion it is that their parents are involved in. So if you are practicing Sila, Samadhi, Panya, which is the three components of the Noble Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, or right meditation. This can be categorized into three sections: Sila, moral virtue; Samadhi, meditation; and Panya, wisdom. Primarily, if you keep Sila, which is just 5 precepts, moral virtue, not 10 commandments, not 227 rules of a Bhikkhu, monk, but as a layperson, an upasika, just 5. Refrain from killing, refrain from stealing, refrain from sexual misconduct, refrain from lying, and refrain from taking intoxicants. Then you will be keeping Sila. Now, you may not be a hands-on great parent taking them to all of the different football matches or sporting events. You may not go to all of the open evenings, parents' evenings at school. You may be working so hard you hardly ever see them. But I can assure you, if you're keeping those 5 precepts, you're practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. Even whatever your children say, and you must remember, our children are going through all of these growing pains and different phases, physically and mentally, with all of these hormones as they grow up, especially as they get into teenage years. And it becomes quite difficult, it can do. You become difficult as a parent to them, they become difficult as a child to you. The relationships can often break down. But it doesn't matter. That is normal. That happens. They're growing up. They're dealing with going from childhood to adulthood. It's such a terribly difficult process, which is why we don't want to be reborn. We don't want rebirth, to have to do that again. This is the whole point of this practice, to avoid that whole growing up thing, how difficult it is, not only physically, but mentally, all of the education you have to go through, and then the exams, and then more education, more exams, and then more, and then you have to get jobs, and then you have to work for a living until you're really old, and then you get a meager pension or something like that, and you retire. And then what do? You get sick and you die. Who wants to go through all that again? What was the point in that? Okay, you may have left some children behind, whom have to go through that suffering also. But if you show them the way, if you practice the Noble Eightfold Path by keeping Selah and meditating, they will see that their parent is a good person. Now, even if you have these turbulent relationships and arguments and children storming off here and storming off there, I can honestly say throughout most of my children's lives, I've got 3 adult sons now, at least one of them isn't talking to me for one reason or another at any point in time. But during their growing up years, it was most of them weren't talking to me for most of the time. It was like 3 wouldn't be talking to me, and occasionally 1 would, or then it was 1 and not 2. Now I think it's, I'm not sure that they're all talking to me at the same time now even. It goes like that. But if you are keeping Selah and you're practicing meditation, even if you're not practicing all of the aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path, the primary thing is the 5 precepts. You're a good person. And whatever they're thinking now is very, very impermanent. It's anicca, very temporary. It's not based on true understanding of you. It's based on their hormonal reaction and their aversion to their growing into an adult, or wanting that to happen more quickly than it is, and all of those horrible obstacles on the way that we have experienced ourselves. So with this in mind, don't think you're a bad parent. There's no such thing. You have put so much into their upbringing in terms of sacrifice, as has their mother. Well, I don't know whether you're a mother or a father, I'll be honest with you. I'm assuming you're a father from the name. But that sacrifice is impossible for us as children of our parents to ever repay. So you've put in so much, don't put yourself down, but also don't build yourself up, because this is human nature. We have children and they grow up and they also get old, they have children, but they and all of our children, as ourselves, are subject to aging, sickness and death. Sometimes we lose children when they're way too young. And similarly, that can be that is a devastating thing. We're blessed that we have children. And it's a relationship that cannot be compared to any other relationship. So don't try and loosen attachment to them. Just understand the reason for your attachment, because they're your children. It's not like attachment to video games or music or any kind of entertainment. It's not like attachment to a certain kind of food or even attachment to a partner. They're part of you. And worrying about their future prospects, you don't even know your own future. So don't start worrying about other people's future prospects, whether they're your children or not. They're going to make their own way in the world, whatever happens. If you die tomorrow, they still have a future. Think of it that way. If you try and meddle, involve yourself, push them in directions that they don't want to go, it will just have a rebound opposite effect. Just set a good example. Keep Selah, practice the Noble Eightfold Path, and they will see how you are and aspire to be like you. That's the best you can do. Yeah, if they don't get any qualifications, it doesn't matter. Okay, ideally you might want them to become doctors, PhDs and all of this, but it's better that they're happy. Qualifications are great if people want to get them, want to have them, but they're not that important. That they're happy and have a fulfilling childhood, adulthood and life is more important. But let them be let them decide that. Let them. You can encourage all of their ideas, encourage them positively, but don't push them. And certainly don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. They'll go in the direction they choose to go in. Okay. Children. That was a good question. So, next question. I mentioned, I think, in recent talk, the 4 items of food, Chatu, Madu, that we're allowed as a kind of medicine. There are actually a few others if you take into what we call Gilana Pachaya, which is medicine for monks, things that people use as reasons for eating certain things after midday. So around this time of the evening or something like that, you're a bit hungry. Oh, well, if I could have black chocolate because it contains this and that and it's technically a medicine. Well, you're not ill, you're having it because you fancy some chocolate, and that's fine. I mean, I'm all for that. If you want to send me some black chocolate, please do, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't work in India. It's too hot. It melts. But you can have black chocolate, you can have cheese, you can have all sorts of things like this. But technically, that is taking advantage of the fact that you can have medicine for illnesses, and you're not ill, are you? You're just hungry, you're just peckish. If you really are feeling faint, then it's maybe a good idea to have a piece of cheese or something. But the true allowables for this purpose are 4 things. Now you said the 4th, because I couldn't remember the 4th. You said, is it molasses? It's not molasses, no. The 4 are honey, ghee, which is clarified butter. Here in India, they have ghee more than butter. They use it for cooking, and it's very tasty. It's butter, but without the milk solids in it, the whey. It's the other part. It's not the curds either, so they take all that out. It's just the oily part of the butter. So honey and ghee. Now I've forgotten one of the other ones. Jaggery. I said jaggery. Well, jaggery is sugar, but it's unprocessed sugar. So often in the West, they'll just have brown sugar, something like that. Demerara, we call it brown sugar. But here, they do have unprocessed sugar called jaggery. It comes in blocks. It's sort of orangey colour, or this colour even, like these robes. You buy it in blocks, and it's just straight out of sugar cane, I guess, and set in a little cup, in a mould, and you can chop lumps of it off. It's very tasty, very nice. It's not just like sugar, it's a kind of fruity, tasty sugar. You can have some of that sugar for energy. And this was the way sugar was in the time of the Buddha. So really he was just saying you can have some sugar, and sugar's fine. It doesn't matter if it's white, brown or anything. But if you're like me in India, I'm very lucky, I can have jaggery. And it tastes like very nice sweets. It doesn't taste like just sugar. It tastes like some nice sweets. And the 4th actually is oil. So just plain old boring oil. So it's nothing exciting. And that's it. But really actually those 4 things, really the 2 are the primary things there are a bit of honey and a bit of butter, or a bit of sugar and a bit of butter, are going to stop you fainting, stop you passing out. You don't need very much, just a tiny spoonful, and it just settles that craving also for food, because you're getting the sweetness, you're getting the sort of saltiness out of the butter, that's the 4. I probably spoke about that a bit too much because it's that time of day. Do I read that one now? Is there another one? One I keep putting off. Yes, I've got another one, so I'll keep putting that one off. I have replied. I have habits of carrying baggage from the past. Please help, sir. All sorts of baggage. Fear, guilt, anger, remorse, sadness, etc. No matter how much I try, these ghosts from the past don't leave me. Please help, sir. That's a lot of things, to be carrying around with you. Now, if you're carrying around a big bucket of rocks and your arm starts to hurt, what are you going to do? You're going to put it down and have a rest. Now, I think I need to know a little bit more what's behind this to answer this question satisfactorily. But generally speaking, anything from the past we can let go of. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, there are certain conditions, post-traumatic stress disorder and such, that maybe are having an effect on people, but we're not coming from that point of view, I don't think, with this line of questioning. So that aside, where you have this inability to keep reliving some terrible experience, that we can deal with as a separate talk. But just with these kind of worries about the past, you have to, this is where I'll have to just put myself out on take a chance here and say, I don't think you're meditating enough. You may be put off by meditation because when you sit down, all you're thinking about is the past. Now, this is because there's not enough mindfulness there to bring you back into the present moment. These worries, these things you're talking about, this baggage, you're describing it well. It is just that, baggage. Put it down. Leave it outside and come home to inside, to meditation, to samadhi, watching the breath, the enjoyable breath, vitalizing energy. If you need to use that as a tool to help you get rid of the baggage, breathe in this beautiful, fresh, energizing air. Peace and tranquility. And as you breathe out, blow out all of that baggage you're talking about. Just let it go. And release all the tension in your body, starting around your eyes and your face. You're relaxing your face. Your hands may be sweating and clenching. All of your muscles, just let them settle and just sit. Don't try. You've used the word try, however much you try. These ghosts from the past don't leave me. They're not ghosts from the past. They have left you. You have left them. You are now here and now. If you were sitting in this room with me now, none of that would be here with you. It would be just in your mind. And I am going to say it's just in your mind. Because in this case, it is. You're thinking about things from the past. Why do that? What can you do about it? Can you go there? Can you change it? No, you can't. There's nothing you can do. Accept it, it's gone. All you can do is here and after is make a determination to practice Selah, Samadhi, Panya. Keep your precepts, practice meditation, and develop the wholesome mind states, not unwholesome mind states that you're dwelling on. So try thinking replacement thoughts. Your mind is full of this stuff. So the Buddha described this as using a peg to knock out another peg of wood. So chairs, furniture, tables would be held together with pegs. And when there's a rotten peg that needs replacing, you might not be able to get it out, so you use a new peg and you drive it in to knock out the old peg. With your thoughts, it's the same. So develop metta, loving kindness. Develop karuna, compassion. Develop mudita, empathetic joy, joy for others. And this is positive thinking. This is in things you enjoy thinking about. And this will drive out those unpleasant thoughts, which are just memories, unreliable memories. All memories are unreliable. Things we remember from the past, it is so selective and it's so often inaccurate. We cannot rely on it. So leave it there, let it go, put it down. I know that's what you say you're trying to do and you can't, but you can. Think loving kindness. Now, if you can't think metta, loving kindness, find a puppy somewhere, find a caterpillar, find a gecko, I don't know where you are. See some beautiful birds out in the countryside. Look at nature. This just naturally builds metta in you. Seeing something, whatever it is that you like. If you like babies, hang around some babies. If you like furry animals, hang around some furry animals. This will help drive out those, you call them ghosts. They're not ghosts. They're just unreliable memories. And you can just leave them. I mean, the good thing is, the positive thing with this is, you're not worrying about the future. Because that's more difficult to tackle. Because we don't know how long we've got and we don't know what's going to happen. But with the past, you know what's happened. Nothing you can do about it. You can't go there. End of story. Forget about it. Full stop. And be grateful that you're not worrying about the future, because that will come next. As soon as you stop worrying about the past, you'll start worrying about the future. And then we'll deal with that with the following question. Okay. I'm just going to get rid of this question that keeps coming up all of the time, and the only way I can do it really is, because I don't want to ignore it. I have answered directly. I'm going to read my answer and read the question, because otherwise I'll talk too much. Now this is presumably from a Christian. Now I'm not rising to anything. I'm not getting into a debate, although we do have a little conversation here. I'll cover it all. I just want to explain something, really. When profit is an idol, when its maker has shaped it, a metal image, a teacher of lies, for its maker trusts in his own creation when he makes speechless idols. Woe to him who says to a wooden thing, awake, to a silent stone, arise. Can this teach? Behold, it is overlaid with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in it. Now this could just as well come from the Bible or the Quran, I don't know. This is about worshipping false idols. There's 10 commandments in Christianity, and one of them is about worshipping false idols. That does not mean bowing to this Buddha image. Worshipping false idols is I'll be careful about saying false idols, but that's the terminology in the 10 commandments. But for instance, in Hinduism, they have idols which are like effigies of gods, and they worship them. They offer them food. It's part of their puja, and it's their practice. It's referring to that kind of practice. So little dolls or models or things like this. It seems in Christianity, a false idol, a worshipping this kind of effigy does not include a wooden cross with a man being horribly tortured attached to it, who bears no resemblance even to the original great teacher Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, that's not a false idol. That's real, as is the statues of Mary, the many thousands and millions of those that are bowed to, worshipped and prayed to each and every day throughout the world, and all of the malas that are equally worshipped and reverently focused upon. This to me is okay. It's not worshipping false idols. So when these quotes that come out of either the Quran or the Bible or whatever, which I respect all of the teachings therein of, come to me, I get them very seldomly, this is only the second one, then I have to say, well, you're misunderstanding what Buddhism is really about. We, as I explained the other day, human beings, let me read my answer. I think I probably say it more clearly. Oh no, I do go off on one a bit. I'll read my second answer. I did suggest what I've just said about all of the gold crosses and this and that and the other, and then the questioner said he has none of those. And then I just said, I have no interest in statues or pictures. The Buddha also said there should be none. I only bow to the truth of our great teachers. And that's it. Now I know in here we've got photographs, pictures, and we've got a Buddha Rupa, a statue of a Buddha. You know, that's because we're human. We're human beings. Humans need something to relate to, something to focus on, which is why there's nothing wrong with a crucifix, a cross. It gives people a focus point, something to respect, pay homage to, as we do in the chanting. A rosary is the same as our Buddhist mala. It's to focus on chanting, on praying, on saying your Hail Marys after taking confession. It's all good. As long as you understand it's part of practice, it's not going to necessarily, well, in Buddhism, we don't expect it to produce results. We don't think by saying 108 Itipiso Bhagawa Adaham Sama with our mala that we'll pass our exams. Now, okay, maybe flicking the beads, same, 108 on a rosary, you may think it will help. It may. This is your belief. So, without going too much more into that, I do respect all people's beliefs, as I said yesterday, because it's easy for me to do so, having none myself. I only have an understanding of what I consider to be the truth, and that there is suffering. There is a cause for suffering, but there is an end of suffering if you follow this path that leads to the end of suffering. Now that isn't belief, that is just experiential truth that I'm seeing. It's no attainment, it's nothing special. Who can argue with that truth, that there is suffering? But the arguments will come in on this, and the final word will be on this is truth from a flawed source gives you a flawed truth. There are only one truth and many errors. Get truth from an incorruptible source and nowhere else. Good day. Well, peace be with you, brother. Yes, the truth comes to me in the Dharma, through nature, through this body. Every answer there is in this fathom-length body, the Buddha said. You don't have to go seeking it here, there, all over the world. It's in this fathom-length, or which is about a metre and a half, 2 meters long, bag of skin filled with bones, blood and guts, and all of this thinking brain. Those 5 khandhas, basically, give you all of the answers. There is in that the truth of suffering. There is in that the cause, the understanding of the cause of suffering. And it's impermanent. It's unsatisfactory. It's out of our control. These are just the characteristics of existence, of life. This is nature. This isn't coming from a book. We can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, feel it with these bodies. Then we can think about it. Can we argue? When my knee hurts, can I say my knee is not hurting? The Bible says, the Quran says, this book says, my knee is not hurting. What are you talking about, a reliable source? A reliable source is what you are seeing, witnessing and experiencing. So the teachings of the Buddha, if you consider them to be unreliable, that doesn't matter. They're still right. He could have been a liar, as someone else said. It could have been all lies. But it's not. It's still the truth. He taught just that there is suffering. That is all. Nothing more. We can't argue with that. But just knowing that is how we find our way out of suffering. Now, I rather hope this doesn't provoke a whole debate on the subject, although it's not unhealthy to debate such things. The primary thing there is, I would reiterate, that where Buddhism differs from all religions is that, and even within Buddhism though, there is some differences of opinion on this. So this is from my point of view, my own point of view. Where Buddhism differs from all other religions is there is no God. Other religions either have multiple gods or one God. Monotheistic religions with one God are more rigid in their doctrinal interpretation of their scriptures, perhaps, than ones with more than one God, where there is a little more flexibility because you can pick and choose with the gods. So I suppose I'm referring to Hinduism there. But nevertheless, Buddhism is to some extent exclusive in the sense there is no God. The Buddha was a man like Jesus, a teacher. He died like Jesus died, leaving behind wonderful teachings as Jesus did, and as is reliably recounted in the New Testament, and as the Buddha did, as is reliably recounted in the Pali Canon. There's a lot of similarities there, apart from the God. Now, Buddhism, we do not worship anything, and we do not pray for anything. We bow in respect of the teachings, to practice humility, humbling ourselves, to be able to receive those teachings, to understand those teachings more readily. And when we're chanting, we're not praying. We're reciting the teachings of the Buddha, or we're reciting verses that the Buddha recommended or have come about to help keep our minds in tune with our practice and help protect us in that way. But we're not praying for help. However much chanting we do, it won't help us pass our exams. We have to pass our exams by our own efforts. So the Buddha taught us that it's down to us. Liberation is up to us. All the other religions where there's a God, they have praying and worship. In Buddhism, we have chanting and meditation. And that's the big difference. So I don't disagree with anything. You can send me all of these Bible passages and quotes. I'll never disagree with them, but I also can't agree with them, because I'm only going from experience in the here and now, in the present moment. And anyway, I think that's enough said on that subject. At least I've been putting off that question for some days, so I thought I ought to address it. And then that's it, I think. Well, there are some more, but they'll need to wait for another day, because I don't know how long I've been. So, I hope that's useful. If there's anything useful there, then please use it. And but if not, you can just let it go. Don't let it haunt you. Namo Buddhaya.